Hold still for a moment, because something has shifted in the silence around you, and if you listen closely, you may feel it. The distance between you and the one meant for your heart is no longer empty. It is charged. Alive. Filled with words they have rehearsed 1,000 times but have not yet found the courage to speak. Your soulmate is closer to breaking their silence than you realize. For so long, they hid behind hesitation, behind timing, behind fear. They convinced themselves that staying quiet was safer than risking everything with one confession. Safer to wonder than to know. Safer to watch you from afar than to stand before you vulnerable and exposed. But something inside them has changed. And when the heart changes, the entire future rearranges around it. Do you understand what this means? It means the version of them that once ran from their feelings is fading. The version that doubted your connection is disappearing. The version that told themselves, maybe this is too much, maybe this is too intense, maybe I should stay silent, can no longer lie to their own soul. Because every day they remain quiet now feels heavier than before. Every unsent message burns. Every moment they imagine you with someone else stings deeper than they expected. Every time your name crosses their mind, and it does, more often than you know, it shakes something inside them. And here is what you must hear carefully. People do not stay silent forever when love becomes louder than fear. That is where they are now. Standing at the edge of a decision. Balancing between caution and confession. Between pretending they feel nothing, and finally admitting they have felt everything. You may have sensed it already. That strange pull lately. That feeling in your chest when everything becomes quiet. That unexplainable awareness that something is approaching. It is not your imagination. Energetically, emotionally, spiritually, they are moving toward you. Not because someone forced them. Not because circumstances demanded it. But because the truth inside them has become impossible to ignore. And what they are realizing is powerful. No matter how much time passes. No matter how many distractions appear. No matter how many times they try to suppress what they feel. Their heart keeps returning to you. Again. And again. And again. Pause and think about that. Out of every face they have seen, every conversation they have had, every road they could have chosen, their spirit still circles back to your name. Why? Because some connections are not ordinary. Some people enter your life and leave a mark no one else can erase. Some souls recognize each other before words are ever spoken. And your soulmate has finally begun to understand this. They are no longer asking themselves, do I feel something? They know they do. Now the question tormenting them is far more dangerous. What happens if I lose my chance? That thought is haunting them. Because for the first time, they are not only afraid of confessing. They are more afraid of never confessing. Read that again in your spirit. The fear of rejection once controlled them. Now the fear of regret controls them more. That is the turning point. That is when silence begins to break. Not immediately. Not dramatically. But first in subtle ways. You may notice them trying to appear closer. Trying to create excuses to reconnect. Trying to test the waters with small gestures, unexpected messages, lingering eye contact, unusual warmth. Why? Because before a soul confesses love, it often begins by inching closer to safety. They are gathering courage, studying your energy, wondering if the door is open, wondering if their truth will be welcomed, or if it will change everything forever. And yet, no matter how careful they try to be, their feelings are beginning to leak through. In their voice, in the way they look at you, in the way they linger longer than necessary, in the way they seem unable to fully walk away. Because love kept hidden too long starts revealing itself in everything. And this is only the beginning. What they have not said yet, what they have barely admitted even to themselves, is far deeper than simple attraction. This is not a passing emotion, not curiosity, not temporary fascination. This is the kind of feeling that alters a person. The kind that keeps someone awake at night replaying moments. The kind that makes them imagine futures they never planned. The kind that forces them to ask, what if this person is the one I was never supposed to let go? That question is echoing inside them now. And once someone begins asking that, silence becomes unbearable. So if you have felt delayed, if you have wondered whether this connection was real, if part of you feared nothing would ever happen, hear this clearly. Movement is already happening behind the scenes. Their heart is opening. Their resistance is weakening. Their confession is building. Not in fantasy, not in illusion, but in the quiet, private chambers of a soul finally surrendering to truth. Stay with this message, because what pushes them from hesitation into full confession may happen sooner than even they expect. And when that moment arrives, everything changes. But listen closely. Because the moment before a confession is often the most intense part of the journey. Your soulmate is not merely thinking about speaking. They are battling with themselves now. Every quiet night becomes a conversation in their own mind. Should they reach out? Should they wait? Should they protect their pride, or risk everything for the truth? And what they are discovering is this. The longer they stay silent, the more impossible silence becomes. Because love that is real does not fade when ignored. It grows louder in the places where no one else can hear it. It rises in the chest unexpectedly. It interrupts ordinary moments. It turns random memories into emotional storms. They have tried to distract themselves. Tried to be practical. Tried to convince themselves this feeling would pass. It did not. Instead, your absence became its own answer. Because sometimes people do not understand how deeply they care until distance forces them to feel the emptiness. And your soulmate has felt that emptiness. They have imagined what life would look like if they never told you. If they kept pretending. If they watched the opportunity drift away while fear kept their mouth closed. That vision shook them. Because in that imagined future, nothing felt right. Not success. Not comfort. Not temporary distractions. Nothing. Why? Because once a soul knows where its heart belongs, everything else begins to feel incomplete. This is why their energy around you has changed. Even if they have not spoken yet. Even if outwardly they appear composed. Internally, they are unraveling in the most beautiful way. They are no longer resisting the connection. They are preparing for it. And preparation before love often looks messy. One day they feel brave enough to tell you everything. The next day fear returns and whispers, "Wait." One moment they are ready to leap. The next, they wonder if they are reading the signs wrong. But uncertainty cannot stop destiny forever. Because every internal battle they fight is moving them toward one final realization. There will never be a perfect time. No flawless moment. No guaranteed outcome. No magical certainty that removes all risk. There is only truth. And the courage to finally live it. That realization is changing them. It is making them bolder. More honest with themselves. Less willing to hide behind excuses. Soon, the version of them you once knew, the hesitant one, the guarded one, the emotionally restrained one, may feel almost unrecognizable. Because when someone chooses love over fear, they transform. And your soulmate is in the middle of that transformation now. Watch carefully. The signs may come subtly at first. A message that feels more personal than usual. A sudden effort to be near you. Questions that reveal deeper curiosity about your life. Moments where their guard slips and their true feelings flash across their face before they can hide them. Those are not accidents. Those are cracks in the wall they built around their heart. And every crack means the confession is getting closer. Here is what many people misunderstand. Love confessions rarely begin with the exact words, "I love you." Sometimes they begin with vulnerability. With honesty. With unexpected emotional openness. With someone saying, "There's something I've been meaning to tell you." That is how the heart opens. Slowly. Then all at once. And when they finally speak, you may realize they have been carrying far more than you imagined. Feelings they buried. Thoughts they never voiced. Dreams involving you they never dared admit. Because while you were wondering whether they cared, they were trying to survive the intensity of caring this much. If this message resonates with your spirit, let it find the ones who need to hear it too. Share it with someone walking through the same mystery. And if your heart has felt this shift already, leave a comment below, "I feel it coming." Sometimes declaring readiness is what aligns the moment even faster. And if this journey speaks to your soul, stay connected, because the next revelation may arrive exactly when you need it. But do not miss this next truth. The confession itself is not the miracle. The miracle is who they had to become in order to make it. They had to confront fear. Heal old wounds. Break patterns of emotional avoidance. Release pride. Challenge every excuse that kept them silent. This confession is not random. It is the result of internal evolution. That is why when they finally come forward, it will not be casual. It will carry weight. Emotion. Intensity. Because this is not someone speaking from fleeting desire. This is someone who has wrestled with their own heart long enough to know the truth can no longer remain hidden. And yet, there is one final event still approaching. One final trigger. One final moment that will push them past hesitation and into action. And when that happens, they will stop rehearsing the confession in their mind and start speaking it in reality. And here is the truth no one sees coming. The final push is often something small, yet unforgettable. Not a dramatic event. Not a grand cosmic sign. Just one moment. One realization. One sudden wave of clarity that makes them understand they cannot wait any longer. It may happen when they see you smiling and realize how much they want to be the reason for it. It may happen when distance reminds them how empty life feels without your presence. It may happen in an ordinary second that suddenly feels extraordinary. And in that instant, every excuse they once clung to will collapse. Because some awakenings arrive quietly. And when theirs arrives, they will know. They will know the time for silence is over. They will know hesitation has cost enough already. They will know that if they remain still one moment longer, they may lose something too precious to risk. That is when courage takes over. Not perfect courage. Not fearless courage. But the kind that trembles while moving forward anyway. Your soulmate is approaching that threshold now. Can you feel how close this is? The energy around your connection is no longer dormant. It is building momentum. Invisible at first, then undeniable. Soon, the signs will become impossible to ignore. The conversation that feels different. The look that lingers too long. The words that tremble before they are spoken. The strange stillness in the air when both of you realize something important is about to happen. And then, the confession. Not polished. Not rehearsed the way they imagined it. Because real feelings rarely emerge perfectly. It may come out messy. Emotional. Unexpectedly vulnerable. They may stumble over their words. Pause mid-sentence. Struggle to explain how long they have carried this. But that imperfection will be the proof. Because only truth shakes a person like that. Only genuine emotion makes someone lose their carefully prepared script. Only real love causes the voice to soften when the heart finally opens. And when they confess, you will understand that this was never something small to them. You were never just a thought. Never just an option. Never just someone they liked for a while. You became the feeling they could not replace. The connection they could not rationalize away. The possibility that refused to leave their heart in peace. That is why this confession will carry power. Because it is not merely words. It is the unveiling of everything they tried to hide. And hear this carefully. When someone delays speaking because the feelings are too deep, their confession often contains more truth than those who speak too quickly. They did not rush this. They did not throw words around carelessly. They waited because what they feel is significant. And now the significance has become too heavy to contain. So if part of you has been losing faith, if part of you has wondered whether the waiting meant nothing, if part of you feared silence was the answer, let that fear go. Silence was never emptiness. It was preparation. It was transformation. It was two souls being shaped separately before the truth could unite them honestly. And now the waiting is nearing its end. The next chapter of this connection will not be built on guessing. Not on wondering. Not on hidden emotions and unspoken longing. It will be built on revelation. Because the person who once stayed quiet, the one who watched from behind emotional walls, the one who nearly let fear decide their future, is becoming the person who chooses honesty instead. And when they step forward, when they finally meet your gaze and tell you what has lived in their heart all this time, you may realize the confession was never late. It arrived at the exact moment both hearts were ready. So hold your peace a little longer. Trust what your spirit has been sensing. Stay open to what is moving toward you. Because the silence is breaking. The truth is rising. And the love confession you once only imagined may be far closer than you think. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of everything that comes after the truth is spoken. And when the truth is finally spoken, that is when the real story begins. Because many imagine the confession as the ending, the grand finale, the moment everything settles into certainty. But no. A confession is not the end of longing. It is the opening of a door. And once that door opens, neither of you will be able to pretend this connection is ordinary ever again. The air between you will change. The silence that once felt uncertain will become charged with meaning. Every glance will carry memory. Every conversation will hold weight. Every moment together will feel different because now the truth has a name. Love. And your soulmate knows this. That is why they have delayed so long. Because they understand once they speak. There is no returning to the safety of silence. Once someone reveals their heart, everything changes. But here is what they are finally accepting. Some changes are worth everything they risk. Because what is the alternative? To keep loving you in secret? To keep imagining possibilities they never pursue? To spend years wondering what could have happened if they had simply been brave enough to tell the truth? No. That future no longer feels acceptable to them. They would rather risk vulnerability than live with regret. Rather face uncertainty than continue hiding. Rather know your answer than remain trapped in endless wondering. That is growth. That is maturity. That is what real emotional awakening looks like. And when they come forward, you may notice something unexpected. Their confession may not sound dramatic. It may be quiet, steady, almost trembling beneath the surface. Because the deepest feelings are not always shouted. Sometimes they are spoken softly. As if the soul itself is afraid of how powerful the truth has become. They may tell you they have been trying to ignore this. Trying to move on. Trying to suppress what they feel. But nothing worked. Because no matter where they went, no matter what they focused on, no matter how much time passed, their heart kept choosing you. Again. And again. And again. That is the confession behind the confession. Not merely, I have feelings for you. But I tried not to, and still I do. I tried to forget, and still I couldn't. I tried to silence my heart, and it kept saying your name. That kind of truth changes people. That kind of honesty creates moments remembered forever. And when you hear it, when you stand in front of someone brave enough to reveal everything they once hid, you will understand why the waiting had meaning. Because rushed love often burns fast. But love that survives fear, distance, timing, and silence, that love carries depth. It carries intention. It carries gravity. It carries the power to become something lasting. If this message has been speaking directly to your heart, share it with someone who believes timing matters in love. And if you've stayed with this journey until now, subscribe and remain close, because some messages arrive exactly when souls need confirmation most. But there is one more truth you must hear before this chapter closes. When they confess, do not only listen to their words. Listen to what exists beneath them. Listen for the nights they stayed awake thinking of you. Listen for the battles they fought with fear before speaking. Listen for the vulnerability hidden between every sentence. Listen for the courage it took to stand before you exposed and honest. Because their confession will not simply be words. It will be proof. Proof that love moved them. Proof that growth changed them. Proof that what exists between you was strong enough to survive silence and still remain. And perhaps most beautifully of all, proof that what is meant for you can hesitate, can wander, can struggle through fear and confusion. But eventually, it finds the courage to return. So when the moment arrives, when they step toward you with truth in their eyes and trembling in their voice, receive the moment fully. Because this is what your heart has been sensing. This is what the waiting was preparing you for. This is what all the quiet signs were leading toward. The silence is ending. The confession is near. And the person who once hid everything is about to tell you what they should have said long ago. That loving you has changed them forever. And from that moment on, neither of your lives will ever feel the same again. And after the confession, comes the moment neither of you can prepare for. The silence disappears. The uncertainty vanishes. And suddenly, everything that once lived only in imagination becomes real. Because hearing someone admit what their soul has carried in secret changes the atmosphere around two people forever. There will be a pause after they speak. A sacred kind of stillness. The kind where time itself seems to stop. Where both hearts realize they have crossed into something irreversible. This is the moment your soulmate has been envisioning. Not just saying the words, but seeing your reaction. Watching your eyes. Searching your face for the answer they have feared and hoped for in equal measure. Understand this. Their confession is not casual courage. It is the most vulnerable version of themselves standing before you with nowhere left to hide. And vulnerability like that transforms connection into truth. No more guessing. No more hidden meanings. No more wondering what silence meant. Everything becomes clear. Why they looked at you that way. Why they stayed close when they could have walked away. Why they returned to your mind even when you tried to dismiss the signs. Why your intuition refused to let this connection go. Because your spirit recognized what words had not yet confirmed. And now, confirmation arrives. But here is what makes this moment even more powerful. The confession is not only changing your life. It is changing theirs too. Because the moment they speak, they become someone new. No longer the person who hid behind fear. No longer the one who watched from a distance. No longer the one who loved in silence. They become the one who chose bravery. The one who stepped into truth. The one who risked their heart because what they felt for you mattered more than their fear. That kind of courage leaves a mark on the soul. And whether your connection unfolds slowly or all at once afterward. Whether your story begins gently or with overwhelming emotion. one thing will be undeniable. Nothing between you will ever return to what it was before. Because once love is spoken aloud, it cannot become unspoken. Once hearts recognize each other openly, pretending becomes impossible. And this next season of your life may bring what you once only dreamed of. Late-night conversations filled with honesty. A bond no longer hidden behind hesitation. A relationship built not on assumptions, but truth. A love finally given permission to breathe. Can you imagine it? The person you once wondered about, standing before you with certainty. The one who once held back, now choosing you openly. The one who feared speaking, now unable to stop telling you how deeply they feel. That is the shift approaching. And if your heart has stayed patient through the silence, if you trusted what you felt even when reality offered no proof, then know this: you were not waiting in vain. You were being prepared for a love that required timing, for a confession that needed courage, for a connection that had to mature before it could fully bloom. Some things take longer because they are meant to last longer. Let that settle in your spirit. What rushed past you was never yours. What is meant for you may pause, may delay, may arrive in unexpected ways. But when it comes with truth. And this truth is nearing its arrival now. So remain open. Remain steady. Remain receptive to the shift already unfolding around you. Because the next message, the next meeting, the next unexpected moment, could be the one where silence finally breaks for good. And when it does, you will look back at every unanswered question, every delay, every silent season, and realize it was all leading here. To the moment they stop hiding. To the moment they stop resisting. To the moment they look at you and admit, you were always the one my heart could not forget. And that, my beloved child, is where your new chapter truly begins. And when that new chapter begins, you will understand why nothing before it ever felt complete. Because some love stories are not delayed to deny you. They are delayed so both souls can arrive ready. Ready to love without games. Ready to speak without masks. Ready to build something honest instead of something temporary. Your soulmate's confession is not simply a moment of emotion. It is the beginning of alignment. For all this time, life has been shaping both of you separately. Teaching lessons. Healing wounds. Breaking old patterns. Preparing two hearts for a connection that requires maturity, not just attraction. That is why this has unfolded the way it has. Because if they had confessed too early, before growth, before clarity, before they understood the depth of what they felt, they may have loved you with uncertainty instead of intention. But now they are approaching you with awareness. Aware of your value. Aware of what you awaken in them. Aware that some people are encountered only once in a lifetime. And losing such a person through fear would be a mistake they could never justify. That realization has become their fire. It is what will make their confession feel different from anything superficial you have heard before. Because this will not sound like attraction. It will sound like recognition. Not, I think I like you. But, I have tried to deny this and failed. I have tried to move past this and couldn't. I have searched for peace without telling you, and there is none. That is the language of a soul that has finally surrendered. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all. They are not just ready to confess. They are ready to pursue. Ready to show consistency where there was once hesitation. Ready to choose effort where there was once confusion. Ready to prove through action what they first reveal through words. Because true confession is not only spoken. It is demonstrated. Watch what happens after they open their heart. They will become intentional. Present. Protective of the bond between you. Careful with your feelings because they understand what it took to reach this point. That is how you know this is real. Real love does not merely announce itself. It shows up. It stays. It builds. And if there were moments in the past when you doubted yourself, doubted your intuition, doubted whether your heart was sensing something true, this coming season will answer those doubts. Not through signs. Not through guesses. Not through mysterious feelings in the air. But through direct truth. Through honesty. Through presence. Through someone finally saying with their whole chest what their soul has whispered for so long. And when that happens, something inside you may shift too. You may realize your own heart had been waiting. Guarded perhaps. Patient perhaps. But waiting nonetheless. Because deep down, part of you always knew this story was unfinished. You felt the pause was not the end. You sensed the silence held meaning. You knew there was something unsaid suspended between you. You were right. The unsaid is preparing to be spoken. So if tonight you feel that strange anticipation, that unexplainable peace mixed with nervous expectation, that sensation that something in your life is quietly moving into place, trust it. Sometimes the soul senses arrival before the eyes can see it. Your soulmate is nearing the moment they can no longer contain what they feel. The walls are down. The fear is fading. The truth is rising. And very soon, the person who once hid behind silence will stand before you without it. They will tell you what every look meant. What every hesitation concealed. What every moment of distance was hiding. They will tell you that behind all the quiet, behind all the waiting, behind every delayed word, there was love. Love growing in secret. Love learning courage. Love becoming ready. And when those words finally reach you, you will know this was never ordinary. Never random. Never imagined. It was always real. It was only waiting for the right moment to be spoken aloud. And now, that moment is almost here.